Breaking news tonight, a deadly shooting at a home in Pittsford. We have been near the scene all night gathering information. We are told this happened during a family dispute.
The shooting happened at a home on Coachside Lane. 13 WHAM's Rachel Glazer is live now in the neighborhood with the very latest. Rachel?
Well, guys, you can see the long line of sheriff's cars out here, deputies guarding the scene of this homicide investigation. And we've been watching detectives go in and out of this house just over my shoulder. It's the one with the light on the upstairs. That's where a man was shot and killed earlier tonight. 3 people were inside that home at the time of the shooting, and right now police are questioning the victim's family, calling them persons of interest tonight. Investigators say the first 911 call came in just after 6 o'clock. A woman called to report a domestic dispute. They say it's unclear who was arguing, but they believe that fight led up to the shooting. And when officers got to the home here, the woman was in the driveway with who they believe to be is her adult son. Then they went inside and they found the man who's in his 40s with gunshot wounds to the upper body. He died at the scene. And again, police are questioning 2 people who are believed to be the victim's wife and son tonight. Are either of them suspects at this point?
Well, obviously that we're talking to them because we believe that they may have some involvement in this. We just don't know the circumstances surrounding it yet. Search warrants are being written for the residents.
Police are saying this was isolated. They believe it was all contained to the home, so they don't think that the community is in any danger tonight. They are waiting on some search warrants as they continue this investigation, and we will bring you the latest information as soon as we get it. Live in Pittsford, Rachel Glazer, 13 WHAM News.
Saying her son shot her husband, Prowler, is hysterical. She's saying that the son was trying to protect himself.
A 19-year-old under arrest accused of fatally shooting his father at their Pittsford home. We begin tonight with new information in the case of a Pittsford teen charged with murder. 19-year-old Charlie Tan is accused of killing his father with a shotgun. Within the last hour, we received a statement from his lawyer, who adds a layer of confirmation to what some have suspected in this case. Attorney James Noble's telling 13 WHAM News, and we quote, "We're doing our own investigation, but one thing that is certainly clear is a history of domestic violence in that home for more than 20 years, not only toward Charlie Tan's mother, but also toward both sons." That from James Noble, the attorney that has been retained. Cody Combs learned today that some who know that family have been wondering if this is a case of murder or self-defense, and obviously that seems to be what was going to play out. We join Cody now live with more information on this. Cody?
Dawn, investigators say that Charlie Tan shot his father multiple times last evening, causing his death, but his mother says that this was all done out of self-defense. However, neighbors say that this isn't the first time that police had to stop by the Tan household.
I'm not sure why, but there have been several times through the years that the police have been here.
The Murrow County Sheriff's Office confirms domestic issues caused the frequent visits. 19-year-old Charlie Tan is now accused of shooting and killing his father, Jim Tan.
Caller said her son and her husband arguing. The caller heard shots, said someone in the house has a gun. Saying her son shot her husband, Prowler, is hysterical.
Charlie's mother, Jean, says her son was trying to protect himself. That's according to audio of the 911 dispatch.
We're all heartbroken. My kids are pretty upset. It's just a tragedy. There's no other way to describe it. It's just very sad that something like this could happen.
As investigators try to figure out exactly what happened, neighbors are telling us that Charlie was perhaps the most prominent and popular member of the family, making these murder charges that much more shocking.
He was student body president, not just of his class, and super sweet kid, would never hurt anyone. So my heart really goes out to the family.
The teenage suspect is currently a student at Cornell, where he previously played football.
When I heard this morning that it was Charlie, that's when I got emotional, because that's who we know, my kids know, and know of, being this sweet person who wouldn't hurt who wouldn't hurt anyone. Very popular, well-liked. Everyone liked him.
And Don, we should point out again that we've learned 19-year-old Charlie Tan has obtained legal counsel for these second-degree murder charges. We've reached out to his mother to comment on this story. She has not returned those requests. Tan remains in the Monroe County Jail. Live in Pittsford, Cody Combs, 13 WHAM News.
Well, just days before his arrest for second-degree murder, a Pittsford teenager texted a cryptic message to a friend. And now that friend and hundreds of others are speaking out in support of Charlie Tan. even offering tens of thousands of dollars for his defense. Jane Flash joining us now in the newsroom to explain why. Jane?
Well, Don, this level of support is extraordinary. Friends, their parents, even entire families sending along thoughts, prayers, and a whole lot of money.
He's the nicest guy, and we have to be there to support him.
Anna Valentine graduated alongside Charlie Tan, their friendship rooted in sports and school activities. Now college sophomores, the two shared dinner together just last Thursday.
It was unusual because it was like a different situation. Like, he seemed like stressed.
4 days later, police responding to a domestic violence call discovered the body of Jim Tan, who had shotgun wounds to the chest, arm, neck, and face. Defense attorneys say Tan was abusive to his wife and two sons. Police calls to the house dating back to 2009. Valentine had been to that house on Coachside Lane many times.
His dad was kind of like more reserved and didn't really say very much. I just thought that was his personality. It's such a different situation. He was going through such a hard time at home that nobody even knew about.
Wanting to help, she started a Give Forward campaign to raise money for her friend's defense. Mixed in with the hundreds of small donations from young people are pledges from their parents and even teachers. And dozens of contributions being made on behalf of families by name, some with photos. Anna Valentine explains the response this way.
It's crazy to think about how he was going through that at home, and yet to everybody else, he was the kindest, sweetest person ever. It shows like just how much he actually meant to the community and how much everybody respects him and like believes in him.
And she may have been the last friend Charlie Tan reached out to before his arrest. A text in the early morning hours Friday, then nothing.
I love you and I'll talk to you soon. So I wasn't sure what happened or anything, but I was concerned for him. So like I tried calling him, but like he wasn't answering.
Now, more than 500 people have given more than $44,000 to the defense fund so far. Tan is being held in the Monroe County Jail without bail. He is back in court tomorrow, Don.
The Pittsford teen accused of killing his father held back tears today as he left his first court appearance since being indicted by a grand jury. Good evening. 19-year-old Charlie Tan is indicted just moments after walking into the Pittsford Town Court, flanked by police and greeted by supporters. He walked back out facing one felony charge. 13 WAN's Cody Combs at court right now. Cody, how many supporters were there? We heard a lot about that today.
Don, just to give you an idea, the Pittsford Town Court right over my shoulder holds about 150 people. There was not a seat to be had. Now, that seemed to surprise 19-year-old Charlie Tan, accused of killing his father Monday as well. Parents, teachers, classmates, students, coaches, all of them here showing signs of support. At one point, chanting for Charlie as he walked out of the courtroom and back into the police cruiser, saying, "Charlie, we're with you," and things to that extent. However, despite all those well wishes of support, Charlie Tan was indicted on one felony count.
The grand jury of Monroe County has voted an indictment against Charles Tan linked to the allegations contained in the felony complaint for which he was arraigned on Tuesday.
No surprise that he's been indicted on something. That certainly doesn't surprise us. I think what is surprising is the crowd that you see here today, and that really speaks to the character of my client and who he is and what he's done with his life.
And that will certainly be the narrative in the weeks ahead when he's arraigned before a Superior Court judge. In the meantime, tonight, it's back to the Monroe County Jail. Live in Pittsford, Cody Combs, 13 WHAM News.
For the second day in a row, a 911 call takes center stage in the trial of Pittsford teen charged with killing his father.
911, sir. What's the address of emergency?
Yes, hi. My name is Jean Tan, and I'm at 37 Coachside Lane. And my husband just beats me up. I need your protection.
Jean Tan, allegedly under attack by her husband, calling for help. 10 days later, she called 911 again, this time to report her husband had been shot to death by her son, Charlie Tan. Jane Flash, live at the Hall of Justice covering the trial, joins us now. Jane?
Well, Don, the defense says this 911 call proves a pattern of abuse inside the Tan home, but prosecutors say it proves something else, a motive for intentional murder. On January 25th, while Charlie Tan was away at school, his mother, Jean, placed a frantic call to 911.
Are you injured?
Yes, he choked me, and I'm so scared. please.
You want an
Please
ambulance?
help. Oh, you call me? No.
Later, Jim Tan gets on the line.
My name is Jim Tan.
Okay.
All right, so there's no issue here. Just my wife and myself have some arguments.
Police have been called to the Countryside Lane home 18 times since 2003.
It obviously links to a history of domestic violence in the home, and at least on that particular instance, a very serious issue of domestic violence.
But prosecutors say that 911 call was the last straw for Charlie Tan.
So this would be motive, but our theory is that information was conveyed to him about something that would make him want to kill his father.
5 days later, Charlie Tan called a high school friend and football buddy. Jacob Grossman testified Charlie asked him for money. When they met later, quote, he looked like he was crying, Grossman testified. Charlie said he'd be leaving the country tomorrow.
Was he planning to leave the country? Did he leave the country?
Don't know the answers to those. You'll have to wait and hear what comes out at the trial.
Grossman was so upset at his friend's demeanor, he called 911 to seek help for him. Deputy Steve Williams testified when he responded to the Tan home the night of the homicide call, Jim Tan's wounds were not fresh. Prosecutors say that's because Tan killed his father days earlier and point to that teary meeting he had with his high school friend. Are you saying that's the night he shot his father?
I'm saying that that's a night that is unlike any he's had before. I think it's consistent with the time frame that's been placed in the indictment.
Now, deputies testified today. They also found business cards for attorneys in Mrs. Tan's purse. Prosecutors say that she and her son may have sought legal advice, and they say that could account for what they say is a 4-day delay in reporting Jim Tan's death. Reporting live outside the Hall of Justice, Jane Flash, 13 WHAM News.
At this point, it is what it is. We didn't call it quits. The judge did, and the lawyers did.
Jurors say they wanted to keep deliberating, but the judge in the Charlie Tan murder trial declared a mistrial. Jurors say they were deadlocked, 8 to convict, 4 to acquit. Now they're done, and a new jury will have to decide if Charlie Tan intentionally killed his father, Jim. We have team coverage, reaction from jurors and the judge. But we begin with 13 WHAM's Patrice Walsh in court today for that moment. How much of a surprise was it, Patrice?
Well, Ginny, for many of the reporters in the courtroom, it was definitely a surprise. We knew there wasn't a note, but we didn't know why everyone was being called back in until the judge declared a mistrial. But attorneys telling us they decided last night this needed to end, but they did tell us no one wins with a mistrial.
It was kind of disappointing knowing that it came out as a mistrial.
Supporters of Charlie Tan didn't want the trial to end this way.
I've been following this trial the entire time, and I really felt like he was innocent. I just don't think that there was enough evidence to prove his guilt.
Sarah Gosnell and Caitlin Licata have attended the case almost every day.
We've been following it since the very beginning, and we wanted to be here to show our support to him.
Attorneys say no one wants a case to end in a mistrial, but they say after the jury's final note Wednesday night saying they were exhausted, it was clear they couldn't reach a unanimous verdict.
It became inevitable that it was time to say no more for them.
Their job's harder than ours.
Disappointed at all, Brian?
Of course we are. We came into this expecting to win, frankly. Anybody that comes into a trial and is satisfied by a hung jury is crazy. So we're disappointed.
Any comments, Charlie, at all? Charlie Tan left court quickly after agreeing to the mistrial, not stopping to answer reporters' questions. In court, he said, yes, sir, when asked by the judge if he consented to discharge the jury without a verdict. The case will be retried.
We recognize that the DA's office isn't going to walk away from a homicide.
Prosecutors say they'll do more in their next trial to prove their case, but they say Charlie Tan will be tried on the same intentional murder charge.
I think when you shotgun somebody 3 times, there is no value in a lesser charge.
Tan's attorneys say he was hoping to put this behind him and move on, possibly re-enrolling in college. They believe the jury struggled because there was reasonable doubt.
A homicide occurred. We know that. frankly, an intentional homicide occurred. We know that. We said that during our closing argument. But there was reasonable doubt relative to Charlie Tan being the person that did that.
Now, Charlie Tan remains free on bail. He'll return to court with attorneys on November 5th. They will set a date for that retrial. We're told it could be as early as January and as late as next June. We're also told that Charlie Tan is living in Rochester. Reporting live at the Hall of Justice, Patrice Walsh, 13 WAM News.
All right, thank you, Patrice. Jurors spent 8 days deliberating, and some say they are not happy the case ended in a mistrial. 13 WAM's Carlette Claire is here now to tell us how the jury was divided in this case. Carlette?
Jenny, the jury was split 8 to convict and 4 to acquit. That's after a total of 54 grueling hours of deliberations. Sitting in a small room at the Hall of Justice, trying to determine if Charlie Tan intentionally shot his father dead in their Pittsford home in February.
We all were very passionate with our conviction of how we felt one way or another.
There's a piece of American cheese, there's a piece of Swiss cheese. Swiss cheese has got some holes. Some of us could get to those holes and fill them, some of us couldn't.
Today, 2/3 of the jury walked out of the courtroom wanting to convict Tan of murder, but it didn't start off that way. The majority of them saw him innocent.
I went in not guilty and I walked out guilty. For me, by going through a timeline and drawing things out in my own head, came down to guilty for me.
But some jurors say there were too many unanswered questions.
The Subaru at the airport, and there was mention of Border Patrol, and the car had gone over to Canada sometime that weekend after the crime occurred, and nobody ever testified to whose car it was. Nobody testified to who drove that car, the dates it was out of the country.
Jurors say they could have convicted if there was a lesser charge.
There's only one way to go with that charge, and it was to conclude the cause and the intent. And there were some people in that room that didn't feel that the cause was proved.
The judge's mistrial came as a surprise to many of them.
We didn't call it quits. The judge did.
Disappointed because we were still willing to work this morning. He told us to go back in, start over, and we were willing to do that. And we came back this morning all ready to start, and we thought we were going to come to one. And unfortunately, we were a little surprised by the mistrial.
It does kind of makes you feel as though justice wasn't served because we didn't get that chance to actually come up with a unanimous verdict.
Those jurors tell me they were close to a unanimous decision and would have liked more time to reach one. In the newsroom, I'm Carlette Claire.
All right, thank you, Carlette. Now to the judge who declared that mistrial this morning. 13 WAM's Cody Combs spoke with Judge Piampiano about why he made that call. Cody?
Judge Jane Pompiano told me moments ago that both the defense and prosecuting attorneys came to him this morning and agreed to this mistrial, and that under New York statutes, essentially the jury does not have to have a say in that issue. The judge added that there's still a lot he can't say about this case because, get this, if there's a retrial, he'll likely be presiding over the case. Pompiano acknowledged that although there seemed to be a lot of evidence presented by the prosecution, Tan's email to his college friends, that shotgun, even Tan's fingerprints on the shells, that evidence was proved to be a knife that cut both ways.
Jurors don't get the evidence they want. They get the evidence they get. And then they have to sort through that and figure it out and come to some conclusion as to whether or not the prosecution proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt. So I take away from this trial that this was an incredibly difficult experience for these jurors to sort through this information. I think at the outset there were more questions than there were answers.
The judge also told me moments ago that he's well aware his decision to not sequester this jury came under a lot of criticism, but he said that decision was not his ultimately, and he's blaming somebody for that decision. We'll tell you who he's blaming coming up on 13 WAM News at 10 on Fox and 11 on ABC. For now, live at the Hall of Justice, Cody Combs, 13 WAM News.
Thank you, Cody. Interesting to hear from the judge. Now to recap our top story, that mistrial declared in the Charlie Tan murder case. Jurors say they were divided, 8 to convict, 4 to acquit Tan. They spent more than 50 hours deliberating. Both sides will return November 5th to talk about scheduling the next trial. Charlie Tan did not comment on his way out of court today.
His smile tells the story. 20-year-old Charlie Tan is a free man tonight as a judge dismisses the murder charge in the death of his father. Reaction? Strong and quick.
This is appalling. You know, in my 24 years, I've never in my life experienced anything like that.
No words, shocked,
Disappointed. Very disappointed. You know, I feel like we wasted our time.
Everybody has told us, his friends, his family, that this kid was going places, that he was going to be somebody. This gives him the chance to be somebody.
Good evening. It was supposed to be a routine court hearing to set a date for Charlie Tan's second murder trial. Instead, case dismissed. The judge saying there was no evidence that Tan killed his father. We have team coverage tonight. Our team coverage including more of the reaction you just saw from reporters Carlette Claire, Kelsey Smith, and Patrice Walsh, who was in court when that stunning announcement was made this morning. Patrice?
Don, a heated exchange between the judge and the prosecutor. The judge telling him he was going to handcuff him because the prosecutor was fighting against the dismissal of the charges. And when that was over, it was when Charlie Tan realized he was free. Charlie Tan's supporters cried as they left the courtroom, some of them too emotional to speak. Tan walked out smiling, looking like he was finally ready to share his story.
Yeah, back up. Sorry. Calm down. Let's go over here.
Okay.
Calm down.
But his attorneys whisked him away, promising an interview another time. They say in court, Tan didn't realize right away what had happened.
He obviously got it at some point. He's turning, he's smiling, he's crying, he's hugging us.
Though no one but the judge knew this was coming, defense attorneys say they did know it was a possibility.
And given the lack of the people's evidence, it wasn't surprising at all.
But prosecutor Bill Gargan says he was shocked. He called the ruling absurd. He says Charlie Tan admitted he killed his father. That's why Gargan says he argued with the judge and challenged his ruling in court.
And I was more than willing to have handcuffs placed on me to argue my point.
Gargan says the ruling can't be appealed, and Tan can't be charged a second time with murder.
There is no potential for changing what occurred.
Tan's attorneys say he'll go back to college and try to move forward.
I think he gets back to school. He's a 20-year-old kid. He's a sharp kid. He's an articulate kid. You guys have seen him. I think he's going to get back to doing what he was doing.
But Tan's attorneys also acknowledge it is going to be hard for him to move on from this because of all the publicity, but they tell us he's a good kid caught in a bad family situation. Reporting live at the Hall of Justice, Patrice Walsh, 13 WEM News.
All right, hey, thank you, Patrice. I heard a little bit from the prosecutor in there, and Kelsey Smith standing by now with more on the reaction from the district attorney's office to the ruling today. Kelsey?
Don, this decision by James Piampiano to dismiss Charlie Tan's murder charge came as a shock to the DA's office.
You know, this whole trial presented a unique set of facts, but, you know, this decision this morning is definitely unprecedented.
Without the possibility of an appeal, District Attorney Sandra Dorley is looking at other possible legal actions they can take. One of them is to file an Article 78 that says a judge acted outside of his or her authority. The circumstances in this case are unique because we're told usually when a judge files a motion of trial order of dismissal, it's before a case goes to a jury or after a jury comes to a verdict.
I've never seen anything like this. As I said at the beginning, this is unprecedented. You know, especially after the judge, you know, actually went on camera discussing, you know, the case and discussing his deliberations with the jurors.
The DA's office says they have not made any legal actions yet, but they do plan to. The earliest a motion could be filed, it still won't be heard by the appellate court until next May. Don?
All right, hey, thank you, Kelsey. Now we've heard from the prosecution, the defense, the judge, and now the jury. The jury from Charlie Tan's trial. The jury that could not reach a verdict after more than 50 hours of deliberations. The jury, at least some, who shared their disappointment today with Carlette Claire.
These ladies are baffled at the judge's decision to let Charlie Tan walk free.
No words. Shocked.
Disappointed. Very disappointed. You know, I feel like we wasted our time.
Time away from home and work, not to mention the 50 grueling hours of deliberations to turn around and dismiss the murder charge.
It's a little disgusting, honestly. You did waste all the taxpayers' money, and now what? If that's the way you felt, you should have dismissed it to begin with.
Although jurors say both the prosecution and defense left holes in the case, they believe justice has not been served for Jim Tan.
I agree to the fact that there was no fingerprints of Charlie's on the gun. I agree to that, but I don't agree that there wasn't enough evidence to put him away.
Although with disappointment, jurors are asking why make the decision now? 2 days after Judge Pompiano wins a Supreme Court seat on election night.
Why today? Why did we wait till today to do this? You know, I don't know. I don't have those answers.
The jury in the Tan case was split 4 to acquit and 8 to convict. The judge called a mistrial after jurors struggled to come to a verdict. In the newsroom, I'm Carlette Claire.